Next up at UFC 295, we have the opening fight of the main card.
It's on Joe Dirt too, I think.
Sabatini taking on Diego Lopes. Pat Sabatini, 18-4 overall, 4-1 in his last 5. He is coming off that submission win over Lucas Alexander. He's taking on Diego Lopes, 22-6 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. He's coming off his first UFC win after a short notice loss to kick off his UFC career. Pat Sabatini, dangerous grappler. Both these guys are grapplers. Both of them. This is, I don't even want to call them jiu-jitsu nerds. One of them's way nerdier than the other one, but these guys will come forward. They will fight. They will look to get it to the ground on their own. But Pat Sabatini's a dangerous grappler. He does have good wrestling. He shoots very nice takedowns. He's got solid pressure when he's on top. His grappling is absolutely incredible. He's always live for a submission. He's got some technical striking, but he is very stiff on his feet. Can be a little bit chinny. He's averaging almost 4 takedowns per fight and fewer than 2 significant strikes per minute, which tells you how all in he is on the grappling. He's coming off that bounce-back submission win over Lucas Alexander. He's taking on Diego Lopes, and we've talked about him a couple of times on this card. What?
Lucas Alexander.
That's what I said.
And in Almeida.
Is that who he just beat, Lucas Almeida?
Yeah.
I think if I said Lucas Alexander, it's because we just broke him down last week, and that fight was scrapped. But anyway, he's taking on Diego Lopes. Diego Lopes, dangerous grappler himself. We talked about it. He's coaching a lot of these better fighters in Mexico at that Lobo gym. And while he doesn't have the best takedowns or any takedown defense, his BJJ is very dangerous. He's a well-rounded guy. He wants to throw heavy power shots and chase finishes. His striking can get wild when he is chasing those finishes, but he keeps things in combinations. He's constantly throwing a whole bunch of stuff while moving forward, just looking for an opportunity to let his hands go. He's coming off that submission win over Gavin Tucker, where he was yet again very easily taken down, but he did pull off that submission. Diego Lopes isn't quite a BJJ nerd, but he might as well be. The dude absolutely doesn't defend takedowns. You shoot a takedown, you're going to get a takedown. It's just that simple. And it's because his jiu-jitsu is so good, and he's very confident in it. He's very, he's not worried about being on his back. He's not worried about giving up the control time. He thinks he can win off his back. The problem is, we saw with the Movsar Evloev fight. No, you can't. Yes, he had Movsar in a little bit of trouble here and there, but Pat Sabatini is a very, very, very good grappler. To the point where you have a problem with his striking, but his grappling is so good, he hasn't worked on the striking. He just keeps focusing on the grappling. So all we have to do here is Pat Sabatini's got to shoot the takedowns, and if he gets the takedowns, he's golden. Diego Lopes doesn't defend takedowns. So I see Pat Sabatini running through Diego Lopes. I think he's getting the takedowns. He's hanging out on top. He's beating him up, and Diego Lopes is going to be playing this game. Oh, I'm going to get a submission win, and then he won't. And then somebody, maybe Jacob, maybe people in the comment, are going to talk about, oh, well, we watched what's his name knock out Pat. Yeah, of course, that could happen. But I don't see it happening. Pat Sabatini's the pick. If I don't have money on him already, I will. I'm that good. What do you think, Jakey boy?
What a wow! That was that felt passionate. That felt nearly unscripted at times. I can't imagine where that passion originates from, but I've been
breaking down Diego Lopes the same way this whole time. I think it's
Lopes,
and you're the traitor. I've been saying Lopes, and you corrected me to say Lopes.
No, it's Lopes.
But you're the traitor. You were like Pat Sabatini's #1 fan. Then you're like, well, his striking hasn't improved. I don't like him anymore, which is
heaven forbid that I change my mind on a fighter because they don't progress the way that a normal fighter should progress. And I honestly, I'm glad you brought that up because I have been
need hands in this fight. He just needs takedowns. But go ahead, I'll let you go.
I have been screaming from the mountaintops from I don't know how long, months, maybe years at this point, that the Renzo Gracie camp is completely fraudulent. And I was probably their biggest fan Was I not? I was screaming from a mountaintop
were
about
for a little
all
bit.
these guys. I was a huge fan of Pat Sabatini. That was my dude. I said he would be the lock of the week no matter what. If he's the favorite, if he's the dog, he will always be the lock of the week. He is going to be a champion one day. That's what I was screaming from the mountaintops. Sean Brady, the same thing. Andre Petrossi, Jeremiah Wells, all these guys. If you have watched them over the last few years, as the competition has improved, they have not, specifically in the striking. All these guys are just terrible strikers. They're just terrible strikers, and they keep getting exposed as they move up. You saw that against Damon Jackson. Pat Sabatini was the most embarrassing lock of the week of all time. He was a minus 270 favorite as a lock of the week versus Damon Jackson. Gets a little boop, and he goes down for the count. Against Jamal Emmers, boop, he goes down for the count. He's able to find a heel hook out of the situation. I have gone over the days that I have, and Robert Whitaker taught me a very valuable lesson. When people are getting chinned, do not trust them. I don't care if they're supposed to be the this and this. We saw that with Nathaniel Wood. The same thing. That guy was constantly getting chinned. He comes into a matchup against somebody that can hit him. He gets chinned. And he didn't lose because of that, but you just cannot trust these guys that have bad striking with a bad chin because they react negatively to getting hit. And if there's somebody that's going to get in this dude's face, it's going to be Diego Lopes. He is going to be the better striker. His striking has come so far, especially being at Lobo. You've seen the improvements. You've seen the power. This guy, you mentioned he's a jiu-jitsu nerd. 22 wins, 12 submission wins, 8 KO TKOs. Pat Sabatini's got fucking 2. If anyone's a submission nerd, it's going to be Pat Sabatini. Diego Lopes, he will play the guard games. He will play the guard games. He will play the jiu-jitsu, but he has success doing it, and he can play it offensively at all times. He's always going to be dangerous, but I'm saying it right now. If you're Diego Lopes, you can't do it. Angelo is right. If you play this guard game, if you play off your back, Pat Sabatini is way too good.
He's not going to submit Pat Sabatini.
The best thing that Pat Sabatini does is just fucking control people. And he's so good at it, especially against the fence. You cannot rely on your off-the-back jiu-jitsu in this matchup. If you want to try an offensive wrestle, do something like that, that's fine. But when you get on your back, you have to get back to your feet because you have such a striking advantage. And let me say one other thing for Diego. Do not throw power shots. Diego gets wild with his shots. Big overhand rights, big flying knees, some big kicks. You don't need it. And if you try to do that, Pat is good enough to level change. And if he gets on a single leg, he is going to take you down. That's just what's going to happen. He's probably going to control you. Get in his face, smart pressure, jab, jab, jab. He's a hittable guy. Touch him. Throw that right hand right through the guard. Don't overextend with an overhand right. Stay safe in your stance. Stay nice and low. Be ready for those takedowns. Use jiu-jitsu to get back to your feet. Continue to strike and just knock this dude out with a nice straight right hand through the guard. It's going to be easy, Diego. Just strike with this guy. Don't play your jiu-jitsu game. That's my advice. I'm going Diego Lopes to get it done because I can't trust Pat Sabatini's chin. I just can't.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. At first, listen, Jamal Emmers hits like a freight train. That dropped him. And then we watched, what's his name, do it. Ran across the cage, just whap. Like that.
Those weren't big shots, though. I know it was an awkward shot. It was out
of nowhere. It ran across the cage. Like what? So anyway.
And when he dropped, he was done. It wasn't like I'm fighting. That was a Grant Dawson, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, listen, the Grant
Jamal
Dawson
Emmers, by the way, 19 wins, 7 KOs. 37% of his wins are KOs. Monster power, Jamal Emmers.
My point is, hands removed. Pat Sabatini. So we talk about jiu-jitsu nerd a lot here. We say jiu-jitsu nerd. I think Jacob started it. A jiu-jitsu nerd is somebody who pulls guard, doesn't offense. It's not somebody who uses a lot of jiu-jitsu. If you're wrestling and you're making it happen, you're not a jiu-jitsu nerd. That's Pat Sabatini. Diego Lopes is a jiu-jitsu nerd. He's not full-blown pulling guard, but he's like, go ahead, take me down. Just waiting for it. That was him. And the whole Movsar Evloev fight. And everybody was like, whoa, he didn't get finished by a dude who never finishes anybody. This guy must be great.
And then
that's where all that popularity came from. A 40-year-old Gavin Tucker who haven't fought in 2 years. Congrats.
Smoked his ass.
Are we
but Diego and a lot of jiu-jitsu nerds.
I'll bet $500 on this fight.
Well, you just won your $500 bet. I don't know if you remember that, but we did Jalton.
I do remember it.
And
so
what a
I'll do it.
fucking joke. I mean, I've been screaming for a year that Jalton sucks, and he ends up sucking and still wins. It's fucking unbelievable. I mean, the guy's fucking terrible. But yeah, I'll bet on this one. But I'm going to say, too, a lot of jiu-jitsu nerds, and we use that kind of in like a derogatory term. I mean, that's honestly how we use it, because a lot of them are kind of soft, and they will kind of play the guard game. And once the guard game doesn't work, they'll kind of just kind of turtle. We saw that, okay, lock of the week last week. Cowie. That way, he turned into just a jiu-jitsu nerd. He was just on his back in the guard, and he was just kind of laying there. Diego is very good at jiu-jitsu, can be classified as a jiu-jitsu nerd, but this dude is tough as fuck. And he is going to he is nonstop in his guard. I mean, that is a different level of jiu-jitsu nerd, because he is going to be nonstop in his guard over and over and over. And even if he gets here, I think it could be one of those situations where, you know, Diego Lopes maybe is in the guard, but is more active in the guard. Pat Sabatini is not like a ground and pound type of guy. He's also a jiu-jitsu guy. This could be a situation. What did we just see? We just saw Shara win a fight where he was mostly on his back because he was the more active guy, even though he was on his back. There is a world here where a lot of people were like, he beat Evolov because he was just so active off his back. Pat Sabatini will just lay on you and try to keep control. There's a situation here where Diego could be on his back for 15 minutes and still win this fight. He's so active.
I think the only way Diego Lopes wins this fight is if he can connect on the feet. Outside of that, doesn't win this fight.
Ooh.
And I think you agree.
Diego? Lobo. Team Lobo, baby. By the way, Lobo parlay, since we've talked about all three of them, Costa, Lupi, and Diego, I think pays about plus 770 or something like that, if you want to play it.
Man, all three could lose. They could get shut out here.
What the fuck?
Two of them are literally supposed to lose. Lupi's the only one that's supposed to win.
Hey, you're just being disrespectful at this point. Don't trash the other fighters because you hate Diego Lopes.
I don't know why. He actually seems like a really pleasant guy.
I mean, he seems like the nicest dude in the entire world.
I don't have a problem with Diego Lopes. I hate
him.
Because I think he didn't get finished by Movsar Evelev, and everybody's like, he's so good. And it's like, what? He didn't get finished. That doesn't make him phenomenal. Let's see him in a real fight. This is the fight that we find out how good he is. He beat Gavin Tucker. That was great. But Gavin Tucker was old, hadn't fought in forever. This fight is when we find out if he's really good or not.
I agree.
All right. Looking forward to it. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member, and let's see if Jacob and I have some competing bets.
You know what's interesting, too, about this? Just a quick thing, because somebody kind of mentioned in the chat. Pat Sabatini is the favorite, right? And a lot of his wins are, especially against high-level people, are going to be decision wins, right? I mean, he's just kind of kind of grind people out or whatever. But the under 2.5 is minus 150, so they're expecting a finish, even though Pat is the favorite. I find that interesting.
And even Diego Lopes isn't like, yeah, he's a finisher, but like, what do they knockout is he's not going to submit Pat Sabatini.
Ooh, those are fighting words.
I'll bet any amount of money he's not going to submit Pat Sabatini. Ooh. Your knock on him is his hands haven't gotten better. That's because he spends so much time grappling.
Anybody can get submitted.
And he's a wrestler.
If anyone is going to submit Pat Sabatini, it's going to be Diego Lopes. That dude's been doing, he is high level. He's not just some random black belt. This dude fucking is really good.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to this fight. This main card doesn't have like the wildest amount of star power, but every single one of these fights are pretty good.